And that is, I have said over and over that Harris County and the city of Houston, because we're the media market, we get all the attention. But surrounding counties, we know what's going on in Fort Bend, Brazoria, but surrounding counties like Chambers and Liberty and Polk and San Jacinto, they need help. So we are sending out within 30 minutes to all those county judges and to all their emergency management coordinators an invitation basically to bring your people here, bring them to NRG. All those other things that we've talked about. And so I am basically announcing that we're going to turn NRG Center into the regional shelter for whoever wants to come in and use it, because these other counties they're not going to have the wherewithal to do it. And I know firsthand, because I have a cabin in Liberty County, I know firsthand what's going on there. I know that there are people in need, so we're going to work with Metro, we're going to work out the transport, and so that's going to be tonight's project. Obviously, we don't want to root somebody out in the middle of the night and say, hey, you've got to go to this new shelter. But I think it's a much more comfortable environment. Nobody's going to be forced, but I think it's an opportunity for us to expand what we're doing here beyond just Harris County. So I wanted to get that word out to the public, particularly to the thousands of people that have been wanting to volunteer to help. And I know that there's been a little bit of frustration. Not in a negative way. People want to help, and they show up, and there's nobody to help. At one point, I think we had a volunteer to guest ratio at NRG of 2 to 1. I mean, so it is working well, but I did want to get that word out. We're going to be reaching out to all the shelters and to all the surrounding counties to say that we're open. We want to welcome our neighbors into the NRG Center. So that's going to start occurring. I have talked to Angela Blanchard. She said that's what we're about. That's what Baker Ripley does. We welcome people. So if we can be useful, we've got it set up. There's no reason to let this go to waste. Let's make it available to others. So that was the announcement I wanted to come down and make. I will also say that tomorrow we need to start paying particular attention to FEMA forms and making sure people get disaster relief, and you've got to, and we will have that conversation sometime during the day tomorrow, because if you don't fill out the form and get it in, you don't get counted, and that not only doesn't benefit you, but it doesn't benefit the region. So that'll be a tomorrow conversation. But tonight, I and a lot of our team are going to be trying to figure out how we can get more people in a better surrounding over at NRG. So thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
What's the maximum capacity at the NRG Center?
10,000.
But if there's 10,000 at the George R. Brown, and then are you getting people all the way from like the high schools in Katy?
Yeah.
And like the people, they're all going to be...
That is our hope, because I'm glad you mentioned the schools, because schools are trying to get back in business. So it's important that those shelters, those people be transferred somewhere. Now, a lot of people, I've said all along, this is different from other mass shelters. I saw it today. People want to get out. They don't want to stay in a shelter. But I will say that some people aren't going to have a choice. And to be able to watch today where parents could drop their kids off in child care for a while and go do other things, that was heartwarming. The fact that Metro has set up a bus stop right in front of NRG so that people can get transport and go other places. That's a very positive thing. So in an ideal world, we get to close all the shelters very shortly, but we don't know. And we don't know how many people, if you've seen what's gone on east of us particularly, there are a lot of people over there that are going to need help. And so if we can provide that help, we're willing to do it.
Well, what are you going to do to make sure the shelter doesn't get overcrowded? Because there are so many evacuees and refugees.
Well, we'll worry about that when the time comes. Right now, we've got over 8,000 empty cots, and we've got the capacity You know, HEB came in and others. You basically have an entire grocery store in there, and people are able to get resupplied. The smaller shelters don't have that. So we have that capability, the medical capability that's there, the child care, the play zone. They even set up a little movie theater for kids in there. We need to make that available. And again, we're not forcing anybody to come, but it's available, and we may as well make it available to everybody in the region.
So, Judge, now that you're consolidating, does that mean the George R. Brown Center will be?
No, George R. Brown is still open. It's all the others.
Okay, so smaller.
George R. Brown, once they went back into what they consider as their capacity, then that's fine. And they're comfortable with it. I've talked to the mayor. I've talked to Tom McCaslin. Well, actually, I exchanged text with the mayor, to be clear. But I talked to Tom McCaslin, who's running that. And he says they can handle what they have, and they don't intend to transfer anybody. And so that's okay. That's their decision. But so while we have this one set up and we have all this goodwill out there, I think we ought to use it. And so if people want to come, you know, I don't want to come all the way from Port Arthur. You know, we arrange the transportation and get them here. Most people aren't going to want to get very far from their home, though. So I think we're probably just talking about the surrounding counties. Okay?
Once that shelter gets full, are you looking at other large shelters like maybe the Toyota Center or something else?
No, the Toyota Center is being used right now, and they're closing that. The mayor at a press conference within the hour, and that's one of the things that triggered it, announced that they're able to move all the people out of Toyota back into George R. Brown. It was anticipated that those people would be moved to NRG, but they don't need to do that. That's okay. That's their decision. There's nothing critical about that. But now that we have this set up, I don't think we will get overcrowded. You have to remember the surrounding counties don't have near the population that Harris County does. But we've got the resources there to take care of people, and it would be a shame to not make that available so that people, like I said, from the surrounding counties, they're our neighbors. A lot of them work in Harris County. It just doesn't matter. So we're going to ask people to come in, and we'll see what response we get. I have a feeling, I know, for example, San Jacinto County had a shelter that we ended up having to run some cots and things up to. Why don't we just why don't we use our resources for everybody that can use it? So that's the purpose. Thank you all very much. Hopefully there'll be more to say about it tomorrow morning, but we'll be working on that tonight. Thank you.
Well, that was Harris County Judge Ed Emmett speaking mostly about shelters here in the Houston area. But we were thinking that and hoping that Harris County Flood Control Director Jeff Linder would also be speaking at this same event, this same news conference, but apparently not. Now, somebody had notified me earlier saying that Linder from Flood Control was going to be addressing the media this evening at between 7 and 7:30. But that's proving not to be the case. We've been trying to raise him on the telephone and have not been able to. We're doing it again. And the reason is because of this alarming video that we're showing from our Sky 2 helicopter, which is live over the area. First, it's been over Addicks and Barker reservoirs. It's been over the neighborhoods that are downstream of it. We went all the way down to Briar Forest. Right now we're heading east on Buffalo Bayou. Showing you that it's navigable only by boat. And, you know, I will apologize again that if we have sounded alarmed, it's because the video we're looking at is alarming.
These are live pictures from Sky 2. Is my mic on?
Yes, it is.
Okay, live pictures from Sky 2. Our chopper has been poised over initially Fort Bend County, Sienna Plantation, and it just recently made it over the Addicks Reservoir and Barker Dam. It was the first opportunity, at least the two of us have had, to take a look at those areas and the neighborhoods impacted.
Virtually, it's the first chance we've had in Houston because there had been some some issues with getting our helicopter up. They wouldn't allow us to fly below 3,000 drive. Now we're looking at Memorial Drive here, I'm being told, which is, again, navigable only by boat. I don't know exactly where on Memorial we are here, but this is, I'm thinking that this is probably still west of Beltway 8, the West Sam Houston Parkway.
Oh, it's east of Boheme. Oh, well,
This is
well,
between
that's
Gessner
getting
and the Beltway.
close to
at Boheme. They pronounce it Boheme here, but it's Bohème. These are the opera streets, Bohème being one of them. So this is, and in fact, this is the area where I live, within a very close part of it. So what are we looking at here? Is this?
I think it's the apartment complex on Memorial
would it be
Drive.
Somerset, or would it be?
You know what, Bill? When you know, Memorial curves a lot there, and when you get east of the Beltway, and you're near the Town and Country area because you're just south of it.
Right.
And then there are those apartments on the left, and the residences there.
Yeah, there's a townhome complex,
I'm
and then there's
thinking that's where we
Somerset
are.
Apartments, and then Ethan's Glen, where you used to live.
That's right.
And this
Let's
is
see.
Memorial Green. This is a brand new development that's sprung up called Memorial Green. Those are the shops in front, and then the residences behind it.
That's where I grew up, right there. The
That's
townhomes right behind.
Just to the left of Memorial Green.
Correct.
And then this is Lantern Lane Shopping Center, and this is the neighborhood
That's
called
your
Frostwood,
neighborhood.
where I live. It looks to be free of water at the moment, but if this release continues, then, as so many of our coworkers, we'll be in just the same boat as you, with homes flooded.
There's that high rise.
Because of this unprecedented event.
So we're heading down Gessner, and that high rise, I'll never forget how upset everybody in Memorial was that
When
that
they
high
built it,
rise was
yeah.
built there in the midst of this residential area. But you see how Buffalo Bayou snakes its way through Memorial. So we're heading south.
This is actually how I got to work on Monday. I went down
right.
Gessner and got into a boat right around right around that high rise, and then the boat was able to take me up to where the bayou intersects Gessner, but it couldn't go any further, so I hopped out of the boat and hoofed it across the bridge there, and then on to Briar Forest, where the station was able to pick me up because the water only reached Briar Forest at that time. I don't know where it is now, but you can see all these homes here.
Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful area that is Memorial and Buffalo Bayou.
Frankly, I don't think I could have circumnavigated this on foot today.
Oh, there's no way. There's no way. And it's such a beautiful area, as you can see the greenery. Surrounded by these beautiful old oak trees and pine trees, the bayou. It's a highly desirable area for people to live, also because of the public school system. As you know, it all feeds into Memorial High School. And there are numerous townhome communities. That's the townhome community right there on Gessner, just north of Briar Forest. And so then you've got the Oaks of Woodlake on the bayou. All of that is back in there.
And that's the bayou that we're looking at there, then, as it
right, and
as it wends its way towards downtown Houston. People get onto this bayou in their kayaks and their small rowboats, and they'll go. In fact, there's the regatta, you know, that goes from Highway 6 all the way to downtown.
But you're beginning to see just how far south communities are impacted here.
Now, is that Gessner, where the bayou?
Briar Forest.
Oh, that's Briar Forest.
Look at that. Briar
yeah.
Forest is underwater. And that's why all of those townhome and apartment communities
And
there.
continue along the bayou here.
Unbelievable.
And
So
Barker's not quite to emergency spillway level. It's below the 110.
amazing.
Addicts is right at it, and that's why we're seeing.
So you see all these homes along Briar Forest here.
you've got Hudson Oaks. Stablewood is going to be coming up soon. That's unbelievable.
Jeff said this would go to Piney Point.
This
and
would
now
go to-
seeing is believing.
But it's
Yeah, well,
yes.
we're almost at Piney Point at this
Yeah.
at this juncture here.
But honestly, I wasn't anticipating it coming this far south.
Well, but see, it has been doing that because this goes right through downtown Houston, and you saw where Lester Holt was standing when we interviewed him day before yesterday. on Monday, that it was, flooding right there at, where was I standing? Was that at Wortham?
You were at Hobby Center.
Hobby Center, yeah.
What I
So-
think people can't get a sense of is how wide this river is going to be.
Yes.
What are we
Because
looking at
they
right
can
here?
look at Buffalo Bayou and they know how far they are away from it. And if I'm a quarter of a mile, if I'm half a mile, if I'm a mile, at what point does this stop? And I don't think they can tell us that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, are we closer to I-10 at this point? I can't
I think
tell.
we were still going up the bayou past.
Right, we were heading east.
And that's within.
Let's see.
Thank.
Yeah, that's the bayou.
Well, yes, we were heading to Voss. So that's that whole, yes, that's that development there. There's a townhome complex and then all of the retail by Voss. It looks like that area is okay. That's Woodway, and that intersects Voss. So it looks like Woodway heading east is okay.
So now we're at, what's the village there? It's the final Memorial Village right there at Memorial. and
Bunker Hill,
No,
Piney Point.
It's Hunters Creek.
Hunters Creek.
Hunters Creek is the final Memorial Village. And so these villages are where many of, the city's movers and shakers live.
That's Kincaid.
Yeah,
That's Kincaid.
so they've taken water there on the backside. Looks
They
like.
sure
Is that well?
have.
That's the bayou as it goes through there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, and they're right on Memorial.
Yes,
we-
they are.
Yeah, and you can see that it's not as bad as you get this far south, but we've gone past Piney Point. I mean, all the way to Hunters Creek. So.
And
And-
now we're heading into town. They're heading, okay, so now we're heading to the Omni
Okay.
Hotel area. So we're going east
And we are,
through
as you,
Tanglewood.
as we look at this, we're 30 seconds away from hearing from Jeff Lindner with Harris County Flood Control. Go ahead, Dee.
Okay. It looks like we are following either San Felipe or Woodway heading east. Go ahead, our producer was talking to
The Army Corps of Engineers will also be at this news conference with Jeff Lindner that's set to start here in about
Okay.
15 seconds. so.
That's San Felipe. That's one of the office buildings, I think, at Sage. So now we're going farther north. Uptown Park is at the top of your screen. So we're getting closer to the bayou because the bayou jets a little bit farther north in that area as it intersects 610. So we're heading to the Omni Hotel,
Which is flooded.
flooded.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's take a listen and see if they're beginning. There's Jeff
Okay.
Lindner walking to the, well, he was. Not yet, not yet. We'll stay with it until they go on air. Let's see.
Okay, we're going to hear from the Army Corps of Engineers first. Looks like he's starting. Let's go to
Good
that.
evening. My name is Edmund Russo with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Galveston District. This is our 7:30 p.m. report on the status of Addicks and Barker Reservoir dams. Combined controlled releases from Addicks and Barker were increased yesterday to 13,800 cubic feet per second, or CFS. The goal is regaining storage capacity as expediently as possible for use in managing flood risks of future rainfall events. The decision to make the increased controlled releases was difficult given the downstream flooding conditions, but necessary one that we did not take lightly. Changes to releases continue to be monitored and evaluated. Right now, we're holding steady, and it has not been determined if we will raise or lower discharges at this time. Current assessment indicates that we will generally hold these rates at least for a few weeks, unless otherwise required, as conditions may change. We have a team of structural, geotechnical, and dam safety engineers present at the dams and have been throughout the event, monitoring and assessing the structure's conditions and functions. The structures are performing as designed through this event. Currently, we are reducing releases at Addicks from 7,500 to 7,000 CFS by 9 p.m. this evening so that our dam safety team can make structural inspections and performance assessments. Barker remains at 6,300 CFS discharge rate. We will continue to inform the public on any other operational changes. According to the gauge data at USGS website, peak pool elevation at Addicks is approximately 109.08 feet. We have been within about 0.02 feet of that elevation since 4:30 a.m. today. We will continue to monitor and confirm that the pool is dropping. According to the gauge observations at the USGS website, peak pool elevation at Barker is approximately 101.56 feet at 6 a.m. Every reading since then has been lower, with the most recent at 101.5 feet. We would like to see the pool elevation observations consistently dropping for at least 0.1 to 0.15 feet to confirm that the pool levels have peaked and are falling. We understand the public concern over controlled releases in the current downstream flooding situation and are performing them to regain vital storage capacity and ensure the future functionality of the reservoirs during rain events, especially as we are in the peak of hurricane season. Once we restore sufficient storage capacity for future rain events, we will look to gradually reduce the currently high discharge rates, operating under the approved operating rates of 4,000 CFS at Piney Point. We're monitoring the relatively modest flows occurring at the Addicks North Spillway and anticipate it to dissipate within a few days. Over the next few days, we will continue to monitor the Addicks and Barker dams. We began aerial reconnaissance earlier today to begin assessing the impacted areas around the Houston Metroplex. This mission has not impeded current rescue operations with our heroic first responders. We will also begin assessments all over coastal Texas and begin the process of clearing navigation lanes so that the Coast Guard can officially open them up for traffic. We are working through the issues with several gauges that have become inoperable during the floods in an effort to keep you informed of the latest weather impacts to the operations. The Corps of Engineers, enterprise-wide, is supporting the hurricane response and recovery efforts in coastal Texas. We have over 100 Corps of Engineers personnel located on site or en route to support our needs. And that concludes our report, unless there are any other questions.
Could you just specifically go over the water levels of the gauges again? Just repeat those numbers one more time.
Sure. So at Addicks Dam, the water level is at approximately 109.08 feet, which is holding steady right now as the peak pool elevation. We expect that level to gradually drop. At Barker Dam, the current pool elevation is approximately 101.5, and that's holding fairly steady, and we're anticipating that pool level dropping as well.
Can you talk about, can you separate if there are any homes or structures that are being specifically flooded by the auxiliary spillway water, and also how many homes or structures are being flooded along Buffalo Bayou downstream?
I'll let Jeff answer that.
Thank you. So since the reservoir operations have continued today, there has been increasing flows along Buffalo Bayou that has resulted in additional flooding. I'm going to go through some of what we're seeing right now along Buffalo Bayou from Highway 6 all the way down to Shepherd. So right now, the levels in Buffalo Bayou from Highway 6 and the dams down to West Belt have not changed significantly late this afternoon and this evening. As a matter of fact, at Derry Ashford, we have seen a very slight decline in the water level. At West Belt, the water level has been within 200ths of each other for the last 4 hours. So we're pretty confident that we're at crest or holding steady in that reach of the bayou. As you get east of the West Belt, down towards Piney Point, the bayou is rising. It is currently at 63 feet. It is forecast to rise to 64 feet, another foot, from today, this evening, through Friday morning. East of Piney Point, downstream to downtown Houston, the bayou currently at Shepherd Drive is at 25 feet and is supposed to rise slightly, forecast to rise slightly, to 25.7 feet on Friday. So the main concern for rising water tonight and into tomorrow will be in that stretch from the West Belt downstream to Piney Point and San Felipe. As you get past San Felipe, the bayou grows larger, which increases the capacity of the channel to hold the upstream flows. One other comment to make is that there are several creeks and tributaries that drain into Buffalo Bayou. At the high levels in Buffalo Bayou right now, those creeks and tributaries are backing up. And that is leading to some flooding in areas that are located a little bit away from the channel. In some cases, several blocks or even up to a mile away from the channel. One of those particular locations is on Rummel Creek. We are seeing the water rising on Rummel Creek, and it is expected to continue to rise into the evening hours. I want to be clear that there could be fluctuations in the water level as the release rates are changed. As you heard on Addicts, they are reducing, the Corps of Engineers is reducing the release rates by 500 cubic feet per second. That shouldn't make much difference in the bayou, but if it does, if the water level does drop a little bit, it could also rise a little bit if those rates are increased. So the conditions along Buffalo Bayou will be very sensitive to the release rates coming out of Addicts and Barker. As far as the spillway, the flow going around the end of the natural spillway at the north end of Addicts Dam, there is flow. There's also flow coming out of the reservoir a little bit further west along Tanner and Eldridge. That flow is moving down Tanner Road to the east, where it then turns south on the west side, or on the east side of Addicts Dam, and west of Brittmore Road. And what we saw today out there was that some of this flow is going into the underground drainage systems, as it would when it's raining. Some of the flow is being absorbed into the Harris County Flood Control District channels, and that is how the flow is being carried away. So with the reservoir cresting at this time, or near crest, we don't expect that flow to increase any further. However, as we have been discussing, this is a complex situation where flow is interacting with buildings, roadways, ditches, underground systems, drainage channels, detention basins. And there is some locations possibly that as this flow meanders through the ground or along the top of the ground, that some areas that are dry could become wet or could get some water. For the most part, that is not going to be very deep, we think. Most of the deepness, if you will, of the flooding is probably already happening right now, and that's generally along Tanner Road from the Business Park Road area west down towards Eldridge Parkway. There is house flooding occurring in some of the spillway zone to the west of the end of the spillway down to Eldridge. There is significant street flooding in the subdivisions on both the north and south sides of Tanner Road, and on portions of the west and east portions of Eldridge Parkway. Some of those subdivisions are Lakes on Eldridge North, and Twin Lakes. And then there's additional subdivisions that are flooding further to the west, and this is from the pool of the reservoir backing up, as we have been talking about for several days. At the current levels, and we don't expect this to increase, roughly 1,000 homes are estimated to be flooding in Barker, and 3,000 in the pool of attics. And as we have mentioned, since the pool is stabilized, we don't expect additional homes to flood. So those residents that do not have water in their homes on the west sides of attics and Barker pools, you probably will not flood unless there, for some reason, is some significant change. And with that, that is my update on Buffalo Bayou and attics. I'd also like to comment on the Inverness Forest levee situation. There was damage done to the levee over the weekend during the event. There was a significant amount of scour that developed near the pump station. The levee continues to be monitored very closely. The good news is that there has not been any significant damage to the levee today, and water has not seeped through the base of the levee. Additionally, Cypress Creek is falling, and after it falls an additional 5 feet, that will bring it below what we call the toe or the bottom of the levee. At that time, the pressure will be relieved on the levee, and water can also not then penetrate through the levee. So once Cypress Creek drops another 5 feet, the evacuation order in the Inverness Forest subdivision will be lifted and residents will be allowed to return. With that, we'll take any questions. Yes?
You know roughly how many homes might be flooded along Buffalo Bayou or structures?
At this time, we do not know the amount of homes that have flooded along Buffalo Bayou, but the numbers will be significant.
Did you say earlier it was like 100,000 possibly?
We do not have estimates at this time of the number of homes. We have heard varying estimates. I will reiterate that this will likely be one of the most devastating structural flooding events ever. Tropical Storm Allison, we had 73,000 homes, and it's very possible that we could exceed that.
Your equipment, how the gauges doing? What's the damage like to the gauges?
As I've mentioned before, things are getting wet that aren't supposed to be getting wet because of how high some of our channels have gotten. The two most important gauges today that we lost is Highway 6 on Buffalo Bayou. It is out and we cannot get to it. And the West Belt gauge at Buffalo Bayou also. There was damage to the water level reading device, which is a radar unit. The USGS has been extraordinarily helpful in our efforts and their efforts to return gauges to service so we would have water level heights so we can monitor the rising and falling of the bayous. And they were able to reestablish the West Belt gauge this afternoon about 3 o'clock. And with that information, we were able to determine that the bayou has been pretty steady since the gauge was reinstalled this afternoon. We've had very little change in the bayou, so we're very grateful for the USGS for getting out there and accomplishing that today so we can monitor the channel. There's other damage to gauges all across the county. Most of them we can't get to. Our plan right now is to start repairing those on Saturday.
The auxiliary spillway flooding, do you have estimates on how many homes that might be? You guys like 1,000, 3,000 pools with this?
So that gets more difficult and complicated because the auxiliary spillway flooding and the pool flooding are almost one and the same. There's no distinction between the water that is flooding the subdivisions and where the water is coming around the auxiliary spillway. So no, I don't have any estimates, but I would say just looking out there today when I was out there that we're probably in the order of several hundred homes at the most. The good news is that most of that flooding is fairly shallow. However, any flooding in a house is very damaging.
And then the TxDOT was building a dam to sort of keep the water from coming on I-10, which is saying in the plains on I-10. I've asked before, but is there any indication that this could be getting worse, or that the flooding from the auxiliary spillways could be getting worse or more significant?
So the question was about a dam that TxDOT erected on I-10 to help keep floodwaters off the freeway and the freeway open. The flow that is coming around the north side of Addicks is not causing the flooding that we're seeing on I-10. That flooding on I-10 is being caused by the releases from the dam, which are located, those floodgates are located on the north side of I-10 right there. All Right.
You guys said that you're decreasing the flow, so does that mean maybe in the next couple of days, these people's homes, the water that they're seeing might be exceeding, or do you have any idea that that's a possibility?
So the question was, because there has been and I think a temporary decrease in the flow out of attics, would the homes along Buffalo Bayou start to not flood? And the answer is no. 500 cubic feet per second is not that much water. And so the flooding along Buffalo Bayou will continue as long as the releases maintain at this level. The flooding from the pool on the back side of attics, on the west side of attics in Barker, will continue for several weeks. And with that, we'll conclude this. We'll have another briefing in the morning around 8 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay, so we've been listening to Harris County Flood Control and the Army Corps of Engineers explaining the video that we saw beginning about an hour ago here on Channel 2. Now, let me say, we've gotten some emails here, and we're going to try and illuminate some of what we said earlier and expand on it. First of all, this is the first time that we have seen this area because our helicopter was not able to get up until today. So what I'm seeing here is that some people are saying that what we saw near the two reservoirs, those homes flooded that we were concerned about,
Right.
and it's been like that for 24 hours. So this is the first time we have seen it, and that's why that's why we seemed so alarmed about it. But the people who live there have been living with this for a full 24 hours now. So presumably, and we're wondering out loud why we didn't see people there, they've left.
Okay.
Is what I'm thinking.
Yep.
The other thing is it says the helicopter video currently being shown is all north of the dam, and within the dam area, this is flooding of that controlled flows are trying to relieve. Reporting it as a result of uncontrolled flows incites anger and is damaging. Please correct this. So we've said that. The prior uncontrolled flows were a minor part of the total flow from the dam and affected areas outside, south and east of the dam. So all the areas shown was trying to be relieved by flood control efforts with controlled releases. So, and I said during our reporting of this that what we were reporting is what we were seeing, that it was uninformed and only our observation. But what has not been addressed here is the fact that this water continues to rise up to Highway 6 and has engulfed Highway 6 at places and is now threatening parts of Interstate 10 at Eldridge Parkway.
Correct, and there are numerous homes and properties along the bayou and along Memorial Drive that are being impacted now. So these are homes and properties that did not see what the areas along the Barker Dam and the Attucks Reservoir saw yesterday. These are areas that were sitting relatively high and dry yesterday that are now taking on water today. So it's very important that we alert these folks who are now having to make decisions because they were not dealing with high water yesterday. We're talking about a very large stretch of area here. We're talking about from Derry Ashford to Piney Point technically, but I mean it could extend to the West Loop depending on how high the water gets and how low-lying some of the homes
That's what
can
they
be.
said.
And that's what they said.
They have no way of knowing.
They don't know. So these are the people who are now receiving a lot of extra water, and they are now receiving flooding in their home, many of whom never have. Even if they've lived along the bayou, some have been able to escape in previous floods.
And Ken Linder acknowledged that as well. And what he said was that from the Beltway, heading east of the Beltway towards Piney Point, the bayou is at 63 feet, and one more foot of elevation is expected through Friday. So if you live there, you can judge for yourself. What you're looking at now is going to be increased by 1 foot. What that means exactly, we don't know, but through Friday, that's the situation. And he said that 4,000 homes around Barker and Attucks have flooded that they know of.
Yes.
He also said that 73,000 homes flooded during Allison. They have no current estimate of how many homes have been impacted by this flood event.
But they're saying that it will likely top that, so we won't know until we know. But when you mentioned the Barker homes and the Attucks homes, those are the homes that flooded on the west side of the dams. And they basically said, if you haven't flooded on the west side, you're probably going to be okay, that flood is at its crest. Two areas of concern for them were Tanner Road and Eldridge Parkway, both east and west, both of those receiving very high amounts of water. Clearly, we could see from Eldridge Parkway. In fact, we saw from the evacuations that were taking place earlier today.
Okay, so just to wrap up, because we're going to move on to our reporters here, but just to wrap up, things seem to be stable at both of the reservoirs right now. There is more flooding going on than they expected to happen, and most of it is going on along Buffalo Bayou from the Beltway east to Piney Point at this moment, and what happens from there, we don't know. We'll try to revisit all of this for you later, but we do need to move on now to other parts of town.
Yes, we do. Harvey obviously causing major problems in the Beaumont area.
Channel 2's Robert Arnold makes the trip east on I-10. He's live to show us what's happening there.
Yes, hi, Bill and Dominique. We're actually in Port Arthur. We're on the Twin City, at the intersection of the Twin City Highway and Jimmy Johnson. What you're seeing is the tail end of an amazing evacuation effort that is made up of both military, state troopers, and residents. Where we are, several neighborhoods flooded underwater, and that includes 2 nursing homes. A lot of the residents saw that the nursing home residents could not get out, so they put out the call for boats. They got the residents out, brought them to this intersection. Now you have National Guard helicopters that have been flying in, landing, and trying to medevac these nursing home residents out here. These are critical care patients. It has been a very difficult, long process to get some of these individuals out. We've seen some individuals who are on oxygen. We have seen some on IVs. Many are in wheelchairs. So this is not an easy effort that has been undertaken out here. It has been done, as I said, with residents just helping out to evacuate people. You have state troopers helping coordinate. And then, of course, you have the National Guard medevacing people. We've seen 3 helicopters in this area taking off and landing. We spoke to one man whose 85-year-old sister was in one of these nursing homes, and he says he found out this morning on Facebook, there was ankle-deep water in his sister's nursing home. He called over and said, "What's going on?" They said, "We know, we're taking care of it. We think it's not going to get any higher." Well, the way Harvey's been, of course the water got higher, and that's when it became critical. Another man we spoke to said when he went into the neighborhood with a boat to rescue his niece, he saw the nursing home was taking on too much water. He was one who put out the call to go in and start evacuating those nursing home residents. State troopers came in, coordinated, called the National Guard, and that's how you got the helicopters here. Now, the gentleman we spoke to said that his sister is going to be taken to Conroe. That is our understanding of some of these nursing home residents. We're nearly at the end here. We had dozens of people who were lined up out here for hours as you had these residents as well as nurses and EMTs doing everything to care for them, putting towels over them to keep them out of the rain, putting them in the beds of pickups to try and at least give them some level of comfort. Now, most of the residents have been evacuated from this area, but in those neighborhoods behind me, like I said, the intersection of Twin City Highway and Jimmy Johnson, you still have the fire department going through, checking on people in homes in that area to make sure everyone has gotten out. A lot of the people that I've spoken to in Port Arthur said they have never seen rain like this. Everywhere was flooded. We're going to keep updating you on this, and we're going to have more throughout the night. Reporting live from Port Arthur, Robert Arnold, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Great reporting, Robert. Thank you, sir. Now, as we've seen, the west side is still being inundated with water tonight.
We have one of our reporters there, I-10 at Derry Ashford. Let's join Channel 2's Brendan Walker.
Yeah, and Bill and Dominique, where we are is just due east of where we're seeing that water spilling onto the Katy Freeway. Let me step out of the shot right now and just let you know what we see here. So here on the eastbound side of the freeway, you can see that traffic is being blocked off here at Derry Ashford. Drivers are having to make a turn here. The west side there, if we can go to the west side of the highway, if you can see there in the distance those flashing lights, the feeder there has been shut off. And that is because of what we're seeing the Addicks Reservoir spilling onto the Katy Freeway at Eldridge. I want to get those aerials up if we can right now, and let me know if they're up and we can talk over them for a second. Those dramatic pictures of that water spilling onto the freeway. We were attempting to get to that point, but traffic was beginning to back up, obviously, as DPS cruisers were trying to rush to the scene in order to control traffic and possibly even shut down the freeway at that point. I'm not sure if that has occurred at this point. A couple pointers from the press conference that just wrapped up talking about those areas, Bill, and you mentioned some of those 3,000 homes affected by the flooding from the Addicks Reservoir. Some people saying that, you know, despite living as close as they are, they have never seen flooding like this. We spoke to some people in that area who were trying to get sandbags to their homes because despite the fact that the reservoir is holding steady at about 109 feet, they do fear that they will get some water into their houses. This one guy says that the water is about maybe an inch or so from his home, and now we're beginning to see that issue spill over here in this direction, Katy Freeway at Eldridge on the westbound side of the freeway. As we come live here again, you can see members of law enforcement, the Houston Police Department, directing traffic. It's dark out now, so they're making sure drivers stay away from the westbound side of the freeway because of what is going on right now. Quite a few drivers unsure what's going on too, but that is what's going on right now. You can't get west on the freeway, Bill and Dominique.
All right, Brandon, thank you very much. Brandon, over on the west side there, reporting over aerials, frightening aerials that we saw earlier of water from the reservoirs encroaching the I-10 Katy Freeway.
And we knew that that was going to have an impact on traffic out there, and as Brandon is mentioning, it's already started.
And we can't see what's happening there. We don't know anymore.
Right. Our reporter Troy Campbell from our sister station in Orlando is helping us out with our flood coverage tonight.
He's live at NRG Center, which has become a shelter for people forced out of their homes. Troy.
Yeah, so now we're inside the hall. What they're doing is they're giving us sporadic times to actually come in here. Other times, hello, little buddy, little boy, just falling over on our cord. So this is now where, are you evacuated? But she doesn't want to be on TV. That's okay. So the supply line behind us. So this is what they're doing. Hi, buddy. A lot of kids here making the best out of it, too. We've heard diapers, wipes, and over here you see there's even a children's area where all the kids are getting everything they need. So then they're on this line. They come up. I'm told that they have volunteers are assigned to a certain amount of people. There's 936 people inside here right now, 400 volunteers. So just the ratio, that's pretty good. So they're giving volunteers are being assigned to what they're calling guests. They're not calling them evacuees here, guests, assigning them, walking them through here. And you can look how far back that is. It goes really deep of just all that supplies. And they're not even accepting any more donations tonight. They said they'll take it again tomorrow and kind of reevaluate in the morning. And then also they just told us that this shelter is going to become a regional shelter. So they said what's going to happen is that they're going to start to close other smaller shelters in the Houston area. And those people are going to be brought here. So essentially this shelter might stay open longer. And also, should be good news, about 600 people who originally checked in here today, they were able to leave. They had friends, family, they came here, they got what they needed, they got clothes, food, and then they were able to leave. So that number actually went down. It was originally 1,500. Sorry, they are talking on this speaker right now, but I'll talk a little louder. So essentially they were expecting about 2,500 people. They do say more people are going to come tonight, but again, they're saying it's going to become a regional shelter. They're not sure if that means people from Beaumont, or if that just means it's just going to be all of the smaller shelters here around here. But again, you can see all the tables over here. I'm assuming they'll stop talking on this loudspeaker shortly through this. But we see several law enforcement too. But you can see there's also some police officers over there. They've been keeping the calm, walking around. I haven't heard any issues so far in here. But again, this is where everyone comes over to this side when they actually get all the supplies that they need. And they're only letting us in here for a short amount of times, and they're actually waving to me right now to tell me to get out. So I'll send it back to you, but we thought it was really important to hit this at this time so you can see inside, so you can see really the good news, all of this supplies here behind me. Back to you.
All right, Troy, thank you very much. Troy over at NRG Center, which has turned into a huge second shelter for people who have had to evacuate their homes.
They're anticipating to hold 10,000 people.
Yep. We're going to take you back up to aerials that we shot just a little while ago of Addicks Reservoir. Addicks is the south pool, as the engineers call it, the south reservoir. And I want to read to you an email I got from Chris Maxwell, who is a retired civil engineer. The Sky 2 images are frightening. I am concerned about the state of the central area of the dam, which you're looking at right here. It was likely under maintenance, which has now been suspended. And parenthetically, he puts parked earth movers, which he saw in the video. This is very evident rainwater erosion that needs repair. These are old dams. There should be repairs going on now, especially with more rain coming. There will be more erosion and more water fill. And essentially, that's what flood control said too. They're trying to empty this before we have another rain event, so that these two reservoirs, Addicks and Barker, are not overwhelmed again. So that's the entire effort here, is to drain these reservoirs so they can accept more rainwater.
And it's certainly not an easy decision that flood control has to make, and because they clearly see
they know they're
images,
flooding homes with these releases.
They know what's happening.
But they have no alternative, really, because
right. You don't control it. You have an uncontrollable amount of water that
which we have seen happening from the Addicks, the south pool, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So, they have to continue these releases. They are going to continue with them, and ominously, they said it's going to continue for several weeks, these releases, and already 4,000 homes within the area of these two reservoirs have flooded. So, and they said that, but the good news was that they said if you don't have water in your home right now and you're west?
If you're west of the Barker and the Addicks and you don't have water in your home, you likely won't.
Yeah, unless he said there's some other unexpected event. So
we'll have to wait and see, but that time frame is not pleasant to hear, but I think helpful in letting people know how long they're going to need to be away from their homes, and that's a big planning strategy for a lot of families.
New that perhaps even they didn't know about is the fact that Highway 6 has been cut off by high water both south and north of I-10, and I-10 itself is now threatened by water, as we just saw our Brandon Walker.
Yeah, he was right there at Derry Ashford, which is just east of Eldridge, and Eldridge was the area where you saw the water encroaching, but apparently they're starting to have some issues a little bit farther east. So we need to stay on top of our freeways.
And we've gotten emails from folks saying, you're scaring us. And I'm being very transparent with you. People are alarmed by the video that we showed you and the narrative that we provided as we were watching the video. And I will tell you again that this is our very first chance to look at it because our helicopter was not able to get up till today. So it's alarming video. We were alarmed as we were reading it, but what we were saying was uninformed, and we were waiting for Harris County Flood Control to come on and tell us the facts, and we've just relayed to you what they told us.
Fact of the matter is, when you see such a vast area flooded and impacted the way it is, whether you hear controlled release, it doesn't help you if you're one of the homeowners who lost your property. It doesn't help if you've had to evacuate at a moment's notice. And there are so many families who have been in that situation today. They've had to evacuate at a moment's notice and get their belongings and come up with a plan. The scale and scope of this problem is far-reaching, and you don't.
And it's going to continue.
It will continue, and you don't know until you get a perspective like that.
Now, people have also been asking me, should I evacuate? And these are mainly people who are east of the Beltway along Buffalo Bayou in the Memorial Villages area. That has to be your decision. There have been no even voluntary evacuation issued, let alone mandatory. Whether you leave or not is your decision. And I can only tell you that bayou at that point is at 63 feet. That's very high. And 1 more foot of elevation of the bayou is expected through Friday. So that's all we can tell you.
Sure. And a lot of people who have chosen to leave or who have been forced to leave, many of whom have wound up at the GRB. And we have one of our reporters there, Nick Monticelli, from our sister station in Detroit. Nick?
Hi, everyone. So, as you mentioned, here inside of GRB right now, it has been an amazing couple of hours to sit here and watch what's happening. I want to kind of give you a tour. Many of those who are evacuated from their homes have either been brought here or to other shelters, and they're already here. So you're not seeing a whole lot of people walking in anymore, but you do see a lot of people still coming through and gathering supplies. You see a lot of families, mothers and children, fathers, grandparents, a lot of people that still need some either help or still need some supplies from some of these places. Hi, how are you? Just watch all these children, some smiling, some not. Hi, girls, how are you? What I do want to point out, though, is the group behind me. It has been overwhelming and impressive and amazing to see all the volunteers who have come out from many corners of our country to try to help. In fact, Norm is the man working the camera right now. This right now is essentially the next wave of volunteers that are here to help. What they're doing is they're walking in just on their own. They come in and check in at these tables. Where do you need us? Where are we going to go? And they come over here to the staging area. And this group has been standing here for about 10 or 15 minutes now, and what they'll do is they'll come in here, they'll have a quick orientation, they'll go upstairs, learn what they need to do, what the rules are, what the information is, so they can figure out what they're going to do next. Now, there's been a lot of people here. Vivian is one of them who's been standing here waiting to find out some help. Vivian, where are you from? And a silly question, why did you want to come and help?
Well, first of all, because the number of Latinos here, it's a big number, and I'm Latina, so I speak Spanish, so I'm trying to help interpreting them and just see what I can do for them, pretty much.
What do you think about the organization efforts and all the people who have come together to make all this possible?
I think it's great. It's just a wonderful thing, and well, I don't have words. It's the way of the people. It's moving their heart to help others. It's unbelievable.
And I see you're wearing scrubs too. Are you a nurse as well?
Yes, I'm a medical assistant, but they're kind of full over there, so I'm just trying to do something else, you know.
Vivian, thank you very much. And she brought up a good point, something I should mention. The last time we were on the air here from this location was at about 6:30, and they made a couple of brief announcements that they wanted everyone at home to know. And those are, A, they don't need any medical volunteers anymore. They do need a lot of these volunteers, the folks who can do all the run-of-the-mill jobs to make this place run and keep it operational, but they no longer need the medical volunteers, doctors, nurses. If you wanted to volunteer, they're asking you to please go to some of the other shelters in the area. Now, they do have a need still for some of the donations, just a very small fraction though. They don't need clothing, they don't need food, they don't need supplies. What they do need though are diapers, specifically pull-ups for the ages of 6 to 7. You're not wearing diapers, are you, buddy? No, okay. They don't need any diapers except for the ages of 6 to 7 in pull-ups. Now, one of the other sections that we talked about earlier, I want to bring you over there again, is a really neat thing that FEMA, hey buddy, this is pretty important stuff. They're kids. I get it. They're trying to get out some of their pent-up energy because they've been here for a day or two. So what they've done here is they have set up a staging area and a check-in for FEMA. And this is where anyone can come who needs help, whether it be financial assistance, whether it be hotels. And they will sit you down, run through your information, your property, your address, your social security number, what damage that you know exists. And they'll put it into their database, and they're going to start setting things up. In fact, there's even some information that says if you can prove the kind of damage that is at your house and you can prove your financial hardships, they will directly deposit money into your bank accounts. Now, how soon that is going to happen, I have no idea. Don't quote me on that. I hope nobody is expecting something to happen tomorrow, because I doubt the federal government is going to move that quickly. Now, many have been here asking, where is everybody? This convention center, they said there's 8,000 people here and we only see a couple hundred walking around. They are all in the exhibit halls right now, and the Red Cross has asked us to stay here in the public hallway. We're absolutely going to respect that. They are in there sleeping, trying to get some rest. They are going through some very, very terrifying moments, and things have gotten so bad, or I don't know if I want to say bad, I want to say so dire, that they have converted the furthest exhibit hall all the way down on that end into kind of a triage/hospital area. They're actually treating people down there. If they need medical assistance, they'll give it to them. If it's a serious injury or condition, they will transport them to the hospital. There's also been some amazing stories that have come out of here, some amazing stories of evacuations, people who have been telling me stories of heroism from complete strangers. One gentleman said that he was in his apartment building, realized the floodwaters were coming up quickly. He couldn't get out anymore. He waited. He walked himself to a gas station, slept in his car for 2 days, didn't know where to go. He just stood there with a gas station clerk. It was the two of them. And then suddenly a man rolled up in a school bus and loaded as many people as they could onto that bus and then drove back. And then the same man came back and said, I just found out my 3-week-old grandbaby is stuck here in these apartments. Who can go help me? So they caught a couple of guys. They ran into the water. Maybe not the best of ideas, but when you've got your 3-week-old grandchild, you're going to do what you've got to do. They went in there, saved that grandchild and his daughter, put them on the school bus and loaded them out again. Amazing stories of heroism coming out of the convention center, just standing here and talking to people. And something else very interesting and unbelievably heartbreaking, a woman by the name of Georgia who was sitting right, where are we here? Right over here. There were some chairs set up here not too long ago. And she said, I've been through this before. She was in Louisiana, in New Orleans, for Hurricane Katrina. She was evacuated here to Houston, and now she's going through it again with Harvey. I asked her, what can it possibly be like when something like this is going on? What is it like to go through twice? She burst into tears and said she can't describe what it's like. She didn't want to describe what it's like. All she could say is that I'm a mother. I have 2 boys. I'm here with my nieces as well. And for the second time in my life, I have no place to go. I cannot imagine what that would be like. Not only to go through it one time, but a second time. And as you know, Bill and Dominique, there are many, many people who were evacuated from Katrina here to the Houston area. I'm sure her story is not unique. I'm sure there are many, many more. And there's one other thing I do want to cover before I send it back to you in the studio. There have been a couple of people who have walked up and said, we've heard rumors that GRB is going to be closing in the morning and they're going to be sheltering or shuttling all of us out of here to different locations. From what I can tell, that is not the truth. I've talked to the Houston Emergency Center. I've talked to the American Red Cross. I've talked to Houston police officers. They have said, we have not heard any of that. That is not true. So everyone here should stay. Listen, buddy, we're talking about some pretty serious stuff, so give us some time, okay, man? That is not true in any way, shape, or form. If that changes, of course, you're going to hear it first here on Channel 2 News, but as of right now, the rumors that this shelter is closing and people will have to move, not true.
All right, Nick, thank you very much for letting us know that. In the meantime, we have been keeping our eye on an area that has been notorious.
Third time now.
With flooding. That's right. We're talking Meyerland.
Yeah, we hit hard again with flooding. Third time in less than 3 years. We had Memorial Day, Tax Day, now this. So the homeowners are starting to return to survey the damage.
Yes, that's where we find our Roseanne Aragon tonight.
That's right. This was one of those stories that many of you have been tweeting and asking about an update. This was the woman who did everything she could to protect her home from flooding. Take a look at that water line. That is the same home of the house that was covered in 18,000 pounds of sandbags, and it was also wrapped in plastic along with Gorilla Tape. If you can imagine right here, this is the plastic lining that was supposed to be waterproof. She attached it, probably, you can see some of the remnants of the tape right here, up to the door right here, and then also had the sandbags lined up against this doorway. Now, today she says it worked, but it only worked for so long. Now, today is also about the cleanup. Take a look across the street. This here is all of the things she had to do in one day. She was allowed to come back today, and many of her friends of friends, co-workers, and family helped her take all of this out. She says she was hopeful, but it didn't work out as best as she planned.
I can't believe how much water we got. I mean, I don't know that I would have done it again if I had ever known it was that much water. If it was tax day, I would have done it.
Kristen Massey hoped she'd never have to deal with this. 4.5 feet of water inside her home.
They were chest high in here, so right under the light switches, I guess. Like pretty much a war zone.
When we last spoke with Massey, she lined her home with 18,000 pounds of sandbags on top of a plastic lining and Gorilla Tape. She just redid her home after being flooded on tax day.
It held up for about a foot.
But the water never stopped.
Starting to take stuff out of here, but furniture was just everywhere.
Except for some pictures and the chandelier, everything is molding. She says it's going to happen again, and her options like raising her house are costly.
It's like buying a second house, and same thing with knocking down and starting over. It's having a second mortgage.
Just down the road, her neighbors raised their home 5 feet, expediting the project just before the storm. They expect to raise it another 5 feet. The cost $150,000 to $200,000.
We elevated the house 56 inches and the house is dry.
Everyone, though, has to do cleanup. For Massey, the silver lining is the friends, acquaintances, and even strangers who care.
I've gotten calls from other countries, other cities, and having my close friends here, and they're bringing friends and their resources. I mean, I actually have a smile today.
Now, this woman has a very strong spirit. You're looking at some of the new carpet, the new doors, the new flooring that she had just put in when her home had flooded on tax day. And now it really, she said, it broke her heart to have to take everything out again and for her to have to start over. Now she says she's just going to rely on all of the people that have helped her, and she's going to rely on herself, her family, her faith. And she says this is the Houston way, everyone coming together, and that tonight is the silver lining of all of this. But there is the update for everyone who was asking online. She said it worked, but only a little, about a foot of water. She said when the water was a foot high, there was no flooding, but after that, with the intense waters and the intense rain, it did not hold up. But she does recommend it for light flooding. Reporting live in Meyerland, Roseanne Aragon, KPRC Channel 2 News. Back to you in the studio.
Roseanne, tough reporting in that neighborhood that has been so devastated so many times. You've heard us advising flood victims to apply for FEMA aid just as soon as possible.
But some of you wonder what kind of help the agency can give and if you qualify for that. Consumer expert Amy Davis is here with that important information.
If you have been impacted by Hurricane Harvey at all, if your home flooded or your employer flooded and you can't make it into work, you should register with FEMA right now. FEMA helps with 3 things. Number 1, you can get up to 2 months of rental assistance if your home or apartment is not livable. Second, FEMA will pay for some home repairs. They want to know how much of your primary living space is damaged, and those are the areas that you'll be compensated for. So for example, if your garage flooded or a first floor that you mostly use for storage or a bonus room, you will not likely receive money to help repair those. But if you had bedrooms on that first floor that are damaged or a water heater that was flooded, those are items that FEMA would help you repair. The third thing FEMA will pay for is some personal property. We're not talking about clothes or furniture, but items like eyeglasses or dentures. If your primary car was destroyed, they will give you money to help replace 1 car per household. And if you have car insurance, but your insurer is only offering you, say, $6,500 to replace your car, but it actually costs like $8,500, in some cases, FEMA will step up and pay the difference. Here's what you need to know about filing. You can register online at disasterassistance.gov or by phone 24 hours, 7 days a week. Now, once you register, you'll receive a registration number, and then within 7 to 10 days, you'll get a phone call from a FEMA inspector who will schedule a time to come and take a look at your property. Do not wait for the inspector to begin cleaning up. Just take pictures before you start removing debris and dirt and mud from your home. Show the water line if you have one inside of your home, and take photos of anything you plan to ask for help replacing. And then make sure you save all receipts for items you purchased to help with the cleanup and to make repairs. FEMA will need those to determine how much money you'll get back. Now, what amount people will receive varies on a case-by-case basis. The maximum amount that any individual can get is a one-time grant of $33,000. When you register for FEMA, you will also receive a Small Business Administration loan application. That is because in declared disasters like this one, the SBA offers low-interest loans to individuals too. You will need some information and documents when you file. You'll need a Social Security number. Now, FEMA does not check your citizenship status. A FEMA representative told me at least one person in your household needs to have a Social Security number, and that can be a child. Mom or dad would then give the child social when they register, because remember, only one person in each household should apply for aid. You need proof of residence, like a utility bill. And if you have home insurance, you need a statement from your insurance company explaining that they are not covering damages like flood damages if you don't have flood insurance. You can register now to get your registration number, and then go back and add that letter from your insurance company when you get it. Many of you have asked if you can get aid for not being able to make it into work and collect a paycheck. Now, FEMA does offer what's called disaster unemployment assistance. People who qualify for that are people whose business or employer was damaged or destroyed and could not open, so you really can't go to work. If your employer's place of business was open but you couldn't make it in because your home flooded, FEMA says you will not qualify for this assistance. Now, we've posted all of this information on our website, click2houston.com, for easy key reference. I'm consumer expert Amy Davis, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Great information about what you need to do if you're looking for some relief from FEMA, the federal government. Now, the Brazos River in Fort Bend County is over its banks. It's into streets and into homes.
Jonathan Martinez is live in Richmond now with an update on that.
Yeah, Bill and Dominique, we just wrapped up a press conference not too long ago with the county judge out here in Fort Bend County. He is telling us what it is that they are expecting. We can tell you what they are expecting is just behind us here. This is a road that has since been closed, and we can expect more of those roads to be closed in the future. The reason for that, if you look just past this roadblock here and take a walk with me, is at Brazos River, as you just mentioned. We can tell you that it sits right at about 54 feet right now. And as a result of that, you can see off in the distance here as we continue to walk, houses right along the banks of this Brazos River already with several feet of water inside of them. We are expecting the river to get potentially as high as 56 feet. That is what the county judge was talking about less than an hour to two ago. And the good news, if there is any out of that, is that initially earlier in this week, they were talking about it going as high as 59 feet. So there is a little bit of good news. The bad news, though, again, you can see just under there, even at 54 feet, there is damage being done here with a lot of the homes along the banks of the Brazos River. Sadly, for the people who live out here, if you'll remember, it was about a year ago that these very same folks had to deal with the flood event as well. During that flood event, we know that 600 homes were destroyed, about 1,200. Let's take a walk to this side. About 1,200 of them were impacted, and a lot of those homes are right here in this area. When we got here about 2 to 3 hours ago, there was one woman who she drove up, and you could tell that she was concerned, and she was checking on her mother's house. Her mother's house is just down the end of the street here, or what was a street at least. But as you can see, it's now just simply covered with water. And again, sadly, her mother had already gone through the process of recovering. She didn't want to talk to us on camera. She was already shaken because she sees the damage that's already been done. But as she said, her mother, who is elderly, had just finished that process of recovering. So just as that family is wrapping up the recovery process from last year, they're starting to do it all over again. It's hard to make out because it's so dark back there. We're being told that it's likely that house, the blue one off in the distance. You can't really make it out here because there's several feet of water already in that home. We did talk with that family a little bit more. The other good news is that that family her mother was able to make it out, along with the majority of the other people back here. But, guys, right now, it's really that wait-and-see game. Some of the people that were coming up just to look at it and take it all in themselves, they were optimistic that maybe this is going to be the worst of it. Tragically, it's not. They're thinking that because it's no longer raining here, that this water's not going to come up anymore. Unfortunately, that's not the case. What they are seeing now is the Brazos River rising from all the rain from up north that's now going to have to drain, and unfortunately, this right here is where it has to pass before it's all said and done and it gets to where it needs to go. So right now, the county judge is telling people, this is one thing that he said in the press conference too, there are people who are wanting to get out and drive it in the area and get a good look at it. He's telling folks you have to stay off the roads. This is not something that you want to see. You obviously don't want to be in the way of law enforcement. We are told that some 5,200 rescues have taken place in this immediate area. They continue till this day. We're not really clear if anybody is still back there that needs any rescuing. There is a mandatory evacuation order in place, but as we've heard, they can't force people to leave their homes if they don't want to leave. But again, the county judge is telling folks, don't be out here. Don't be looking. Don't be those looky-loos that perhaps get in the way of law enforcement from carrying out potentially life-saving missions and rescues that may continue in this hour throughout Fort Bend County. Sadly, he also gave us a couple of more details. The flood event in this area has proved deadly. There was a couple that was killed, and those were just 2 confirmed fatalities here in Fort Bend County. And the way the county judge said it, we hate to report that, but we certainly don't want to see any more of that. That couple, we're told, was trying to drive, and they came up to water that they thought they could make it, according to the county judge, and unfortunately they weren't able to make it. So that we can't stress enough, turn around, don't drown. But right now, the message again from the county judge is just to stay off the roads. This now is not the time to look. Keep your fingers crossed more than anything that the water isn't going to peak over that 56-foot mark. But we do know, and we are expecting this water to rise out here. We will keep our eyes on it, and we will bring you another report a bit later in this broadcast. Guys?
All right, Jonathan. Jonathan Martinez reporting along the Brazos River there. And, you know, we showed video earlier of Sienna Plantation, which was evacuated. There was a mandatory evacuation, and it's a good thing that it was issued because they have flooding there. The worst that they expected, you know, has happened. Water is in the homes there in Sienna Plantation. Somebody emailed me, wanted to know when the mandatory evacuation will be lifted so that they can return to their homes, and we don't know.
No, we don't.
But as soon as we do, we will let you know.
Sure, and there are a lot of people just who can stay in their homes just trying to get out and get the basic necessities to be able to function within the home, and that could mean just a simple trip to the grocery store across the area. A lot of them still closed or inaccessible.
Our Bill Spencer is joining us live from the HEB on San Felipe and Fountain View. This is a relatively new store. It's closed right now, though, right, Bill?
No, it's open right now, Bill. They don't close until 9 o'clock, so folks out there still got about 12, 15 minutes or so. I can tell you that 101 of the 110 Kroger stores in our region are open, and they will reopen again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock a.m. Most of them will be open until 9 p.m. tomorrow night. As for the HEB stores, another big chain, of course, in our area, they have 82 stores open in the region. They will open also tomorrow morning about 9 o'clock. They will stay open. Many of their stores will close about 3 p.m. There's a few stores that will have extended hours till 6 p.m. Let's talk right now to, this is Lloyd.
Yes.
Bliznak.
Bliznak. Yes.
Bliznak, yeah. You work in the oil fields?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah, for Energy Valve.
Perfect. Tell me what you're picking up today.
Oh, I was picking up some bread and some, milk and, the cereals. Everything I needed, I was out of, man. I've been kind of jonesing. Yesterday I came to the store and it was just mile line, and I just saw the parking lot. I said, I'll let the kids eat today.
You didn't want any part of that yesterday. I know the lines you're talking about. They were around the block, right?
Oh, man.
Down the street.
Horrible, yeah. All the stores around. Anything that was open was way late.
Tell people out there, because they want to hear it. What is it like today? No line.
Man, it wasn't nothing at all. I just come in and I was in and out within 30 minutes,
Perfect.
It was nice.
How about the stock? Did they have everything you wanted?
Everything I needed today, they had it. I was, bad with no milk and no bread, but I got the bologna and bread, and I got some cheese and I got tomatoes, bananas, and I got it all.
You're all set.
I'm good for my spaghetti.
Hey, Lloyd, thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, much.
We'll see you, man. Let's walk over here, and I've got another woman. This is Nanette. She is shopping for the essentials, and her neighborhood is in a bad way. Tell me where you're from, Nanette.
I'm from Highlands, San Jacinto River area, where it merged to the ferry. It's underwater.
Underwater?
It's a disaster.
And your place, is that underwater?
Yeah.
It is. You know how much water you got in there?
Enough.
Okay.
I can't go there right now.
Where are you staying? Where are you staying?
Family and friends.
Okay, dear. And you have a daughter to take care of as well?
No, she's a big girl.
She's a big girl?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just me.
Just you? How are you making it, all right?
Trying to register.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's carrying you through all this loss, this pain?
The Almighty.
Yeah.
The Almighty God.
Beautiful.
Jehovah.
I'm glad to hear that. What did you pick up today at the store?
Must I tell you my diet?
Not everything.
I got some garlic and some coffee and milk and some bread and just some paper towels.
Tell folks, was it difficult to shop today in the stores? Are there big lines or long waits, or what's it like?
Not right now, because everything pretty much, is really gone. I kind of had to wait till the tail end. I mean, I knew I was going to go through this.
Okay.
So I had patience enough to just kind of chill out, let everybody, especially children, the little bitty babies, let those mothers come in and get what they need to get in, and I'll come get the scraps.
That's kind of you.
Yeah.
That's very thoughtful of you. Thank you, Ned. And God bless you, okay?
God bless you.
Thank you, dear. So she's talking about the stock here at the store. They did restock today. In fact, about 30 minutes ago, they got a huge shipment, 18 pallets of bottled water in, and this is the assistant manager, Tiffany.
Hi.
Tiffany McGowan. Tiffany, tell me about the stuff that you got in today. What have you been restocking with?
So we just received a fresh order of bread, 18 pallets of water, center store, which is all grocery items, dry grocery items. We have an overnight crew coming in to prepare to stock our shelves, 13 buggies of Frito-Lay,
Okay.
And
chips, that kind of thing?
Yeah, chips.
Dips and all that stuff?
Yep,
chips
and dips. Yep.
Okay. What is it you need? What do you still need that you haven't gotten?
So we're in stock. We're in stock with milk.
Okay.
We're in stock with bread, eggs, and water.
Okay.
So those are the necessities. Those are what people are restocking on.
Yeah, the
Canned
essentials.
goods, the essentials. Canned foods, canned vegetables, canned meats, things like that. We have that in the back, and we plan on stocking that for the evening, and then we'll be ready for business in the morning.
And you're going to close at 9, so just a few minutes from now?
Yes, we're going to close at 9 today. We'll be open from 9 to 9 tomorrow, and then Friday we'll go back to regular hours, 6 a.m. to 1 a.m.
On Friday?
On Friday.
Okay, yeah, great news, great news. So at this store, they're going to go back to regular hours as of Friday. We don't know if that's going to be at all 101 open Kroger stores in the area, but that's happening here at the Heights store. We're at Studemont and I-10.
Studemont and I-10, 1440 Studemont.
And tell me one thing, because people saw those long lines yesterday. Tell me what you had. How big were the lines?
The lines were super long. At first, we regulated who came into the store just to kind of regulate the people. And then it started to die down, and then we let everybody in. And so it was pretty manageable.
Good.
And
everybody keeping calm, no trouble.
No, everybody keeping calm. I think that we're all kind of like on the same page. We're just out to get the things that we need.
Yes.
So everybody was pretty calm. No big events happened.
No grocery store rage.
No.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Tiffany, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, so the good news, everybody, the store will reopen again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and they'll be open until 9 p.m. Again, 101 of the 108 Kroger stores are open. H-E-B has 82 stores open. Told you about that just a couple of minutes ago. And one more thing we want to tell you about is they have a special donation center here at each one of the Kroger stores where you can donate to the Red Cross. Ask an associate, and they'll guide you to the box where you donate. Reporting live in the Heights at the Kroger store at Studemont and I-10, this is Bill Spencer, KPRC Channel 2 News.
All right, Bill, thanks. He's a fast mover. We thought he was still at the H-E-B over on Fountain
View. Look at him.
Quick.
He's in the Heights. Where are you going to be next?
He'll probably find something else open. We're going to take a quick break.
We'll be right back after this.
There's something magical about Joanna Gaines' style. Her Magnolia Home line of furniture and accessories embodies her fresh, unique sensibilities about design. Magnolia Home is available in our area, exclusively at Star Furniture. Truly different by design.
A lot of survivors from this storm are seeking shelter. I'm trying to find some place where they can, try to get their lives back together again.
Thankfully, we have quite a few places, really big places. Nick Monticelli from our Detroit sister station moved from the GRB over to the Hyatt Regency, and that's where police officers from around the country are mobilizing. They're here to help HPD, which is so great, Nick.
It is an amazing show. In fact, we're going to turn the camera around right now. Take a look at this. You can't even fathom what this looks like in real life. This is just Fort Worth and San Antonio, and there will be more coming. Norm is working the camera. He's going to go show you some pictures, but I've got the Assistant Chief here, Assistant Chief Dobbins from Houston PD. Chief, this frankly is amazing and inspirational.
Absolutely. We have been suffering for days. Our guys have been working around the clock. We've had help from the citizens. We've had help from everybody. But we've been on an island here trying to survive. Our guys are tired. Our guys have been taken care of by our citizens, and our citizens have supported us. But we really need more law enforcement help. Fort Worth and San Antonio have come today and joined us. We just welcomed them into our city. We're going to take them over to our union, give them a good plate of food, and then we're going to hit the streets. And these guys are the cavalry helping us out. We know there's more agencies coming. We welcome them. We appreciate it. And this is what our guys need, because our guys, frankly, are just dead tired.
Well, I was going to ask you, how important is it for you, your department, your guys, and your women to have just a little bit of downtime to get their bearing again?
You have no idea. We have officers that have lost their homes. We have officers that have lost their cars because our stations flooded out while their cars were in the parking lot. They haven't been home in 3 days. We've been working 24 hours a day, and these guys need a break. They need rest. They need to go check on their families and their animals and their houses. And so today is the first day with this relief coming that we're going to be able to let our officers go home and take a break and get in a real bed with a real shower and rest. And these guys are needing it. So this is a lifesaver.
I know that you guys go through a lot of things, and you tend to have a shell of armor on you when you do the job you do. But is there any part of all of this, seeing 100 cop cars lined up just here to help you, that gets a little bit emotional?
It's extremely emotional, I'm telling you. And I'm an emotional guy. I'm holding back, but I'm telling you, this is crazy how excited we are to have this. This has given us new energy to get through today. It's amazing to see the support, not only of our citizens, but other law enforcement agencies. Listen, I don't care what's across the nation with bad publicity. Law enforcement sticks together. We're brothers in blue. It doesn't matter where you work. We're all brothers, and this shows it today.
Do you have any idea how many officers you have here from all these agencies?
I know today we have, I can't name them all. We have multiple agencies, but I know sitting here right now we have 30 officers from San Antonio. I think we have around the 80 mark around with Fort Worth. We've got other people en route to us. We've got people as far away as you can count the states. It's amazing the support we've had from law enforcement, so we're just excited that they're all coming.
What is it like for you to have to coordinate the logistics of this, telling these guys and the ladies where to go, how to get there, what radio channels to be on, all that? Or is that kind of a standard thing nowadays?
Well, yeah, part of it is standard. We've all done this. We've drilled for it. We've practiced for it. But nobody expected this guy Harvey to come to town. This is something that no one's ever expected. It's just crazy what has happened with all this storm. But we have prepped and prepared for this. All these agencies have worked on these forever, because you never know when this might happen, especially down here in a coastal state. But honestly, it's just a gel that happens. It's like a law enforcement community that everybody knows kind of how to gel together. We put a lot of logistics in this the last couple of days because we knew that these guys were going to be coming as soon as they could get here and as soon as it was safe for them to get here. And by the way, these guys wanted to come on Monday. They were chewing at the bit to come help us, and a lot of agencies were. They just couldn't get here safely.
I was going to ask you that. Did you put the call to them, or did they call you saying, we're coming down?
We have been receiving calls every day. How many? We're coming. There's small departments that are sending us 10 people, and they only have 20 in their department. Large departments are sending. Everybody is pitching in and trying to help us. And we're getting calls 24 hours a day from agencies all over the country wanting to send us help, and we need it, and that's what we appreciate.
What does it mean to you to turn around and look at these people who are here to watch this parade, knowing that their city is here to take care of them?
Well, that's something I really want to stress. Houston has supported us through this whole thing. Yeah, it's a big deal. A lot of support from these citizens. It's emotional because they have stood behind us. We've got food. It's a big deal.
Get out there, do your job, all right? All right, so there's a lot of things going on. I'm going to take a walk back here. You guys have to see this. I'm going to try to do this without losing my breath, but this has got to be at least 2 blocks long. Officers from Fort Worth, you guys, thank you so much for coming to help us out. We really appreciate this. This is an unbelievable emotional thing. Guys, thank you so much for coming down. We appreciate the help. Thank you very much. You know what? You've got stripes on. I'm allowed to talk to you.
All right.
It's a silly question. Why did you want to come here?
Oh, it's just God's calling. Just ready to serve, and we know these brothers here would do it for us.
The assistant chief is down there holding back tears. How does this make you feel?
Just warm inside, and the amount of love and support that we've seen, the handshakes, the thumbs up that we've got driving down, were too many to count. Just amazing.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Again, thank you for coming down here. We're going to continue our walk down here. We'll stay on the air as long as you guys want us to, taking a look at all these. Thank you guys so much for coming. Fort Worth. I know San Antonio is further down here. We have now walked about a block. Polk is right here. We are on Louisiana, right in front of the Hyatt Regency here downtown. You guys okay? Is that a criminal or is that a cop back there? They have loaded up. They are here to help. Let's take a little bit further down here. Okay, we are now on the opposite block. You guys, thank you so much for coming. Thank you. They have loaded up. They have got every seat in these cruisers filled with the people that are here to help. So, okay, I'm at the end of the block now. I have had to pass at least 60 cars by now, and they are still another block long down that way. All right, we're live on Channel 2 here in Houston. I know you guys, I don't know if you're allowed to talk, but anyway, we won't show your face. All right, he's shaking his head. He's undercover. We'll keep going. All right, what do we got going on here? Okay, I know the procession, the parade, so to speak, is getting ready to take off. I want to bring you back this way, if you don't mind. This is going to be something that I think is very important for the people of Houston to see what it's like when your law officers, your cops, your firefighters, they need help, and it comes. And as you heard the assistant chief say, this was not a situation where they started putting out the calls for help. This was something where they started calling instantly. What do you need? Who do you need? How many do you need? In fact, he had just mentioned that there are some very small departments that only have maybe 20 police officers. They sent 10 of them. They sent 50% of their force here to help in the city of Houston because, as the assistant chief was just saying, their officers are tired. They've been working 24, 36, 48 hours. They haven't been home yet. They don't know if their houses are safe. They don't know if their loved ones are okay. They don't know if their animals are okay. They haven't got a chance to go home yet. This is what they need to do. And now they're going to be able to do it. Folks, are you from Houston? No. You're not? No, are you from Turkey? You're from Turkey? Welcome to Houston. Flight attendant. Oh, you're a flight attendant. You're stuck here? You're a flight attendant stuck here? Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, you're about to have a show. You guys work here at the Hyatt. We're live on Channel 2 here. I just want to know, Kevin, how does it feel to watch all the backup come in like this?
It's amazing. I have no words. I have nothing to say right now. Like, this is good. We need this in this city because right now this city is bad. We have people that still need to be rescued right now. And Fort Worth and San Antonio come to help. That's a good thing. Like,
are you tearing up?
No, not really. No.
You just said, I kind of overheard it to you, Janet. You're working here at the hotel. How does this make you feel? What do you think?
I think it's awesome that there's a lot of people out here willing to contribute. You know, we're a community, we're a family, so it's pretty awesome seeing this many people willing to take on.
Awesome. Okay, Janet, thank you so much. I know the cavalry is about to leave. Our camera is back in. Again, leaving here at the intersection of Dallas and Louisiana. All right, Houston PD leading the cavalry out of here to go help. They're going to feed them, get them rested, and get them taken care of so they can go relieve all these crews. I'm going to start counting. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, these two make 14. Smiles and waves. Everyone's so happy to be here helping. they feel like they're in a parade, and they are a parade of generosity, a parade of compassion, a parade of selflessness to come here, put their lives on the line to help the residents of Houston. And this is not their town, but they knew their brothers in blue needed the help, and here they are. I lost track already. I think I'm up to 28 right now. 30, 32. 36. There's San Antonio right there. All right, the fleet from San Antonio is taking over. There's some more from Fort Worth. Thank you, San Antonio. That is your final cruiser. It just left. That had to be over 100. We're live here on Channel 2. Are you folks from Houston? Are you passing by? So what do you think about that?
That's pretty awesome, actually. I mean, when we came over from work this evening, we saw them all lined up over here. We're trying to figure out what was going on. And so, yeah, I guess the mayor said we're going to be tough on crime, so I guess he's proving it.
There it is, right?
You know?
Gave me goosebumps a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit too. Yeah, absolutely. That was great.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. An unbelievable show of support from Fort Worth and San Antonio. You can still see them all the way down there. The cavalry has arrived to give our Houston officers a much-needed break. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Nick, thanks a lot. What Nick Monticelli from Detroit doesn't probably know is that the Houston Police Department has for years been sorely understaffed by its own admission and the mayor's admission. We just don't have the money to hire the number of police officers we need to patrol the city in normal times, let alone a time like this. So cavalry's arrived from out of town and enforced this midnight to 5 a.m. curfew and keep, looters away.
Sight for sore eyes and a sound for sore ears, hearing all of those sirens go. That was fantastic. We do want to check in with Frank. It's been a while, Frank, since we've gotten a weather update, so we're long overdue here.
Yeah, and I'll have even more as we go toward 10 o'clock, but I do want to talk about the tropics as well as Click 2 Pins. This has been a lifesaver, like you were saying, today we had our first aerials. Yes. A lot of times the first drone shots came in yesterday of what we were seeing out there. This is the Brazos River, clearly 7 o'clock, the time and date right there. If you haven't gotten this on your phone, it's absolutely free. Just download it. I don't get anything from it, but I'll tell you, it's a great app, and people are really sharing their videos and their pictures and giving us an idea of what is going on there. Starting to spill into Old Town Brazoria, and if you're in Brazoria, you can see this right there going across some of the roads. I'll step back so you can see it, but that's one video. We only allow about 20 or 30 seconds, and that's about all that will load. Here's a look at Fluellen Creek and Main Bridge at Cross Creek Ranch, south of Jones Creek in Fulshire. So people are really good about trying to describe exactly where they are and what they're looking at here so that people will know. And you can talk to each other. It is a social app, just like Facebook or any other, where you can ask Mitzi where exactly this is and if it's gotten worse, if it's gotten better. You can ask Jake if they're getting cars out before the water got too high earlier today. Look at that. Man. And there you go, getting out of there. So good for you, Jake. Here's Houston, still going on. This is a look behind the Wortham from Marco 1 that was taken today. You can see how high Buffalo Bayou is there. This is out in Katy, the National Guard staging area at the Katy High School. I did not realize they were doing that there. And a military plane landing at Bush Intercontinental. I'm currently waiting on a flight to New York. Tricia might take a while. Then we got some beautiful sunsets too. That's from Manville. And that's a nice sunset after the hurricane from our Wally Crow down in Sugar Land. And that is from Brazoria, Good Night, Texas. So there's a lot of nice shots too. A lot of nice things are happening in Texas, and they're on Click to Pins. It's not all just a bunch of flood shots. So it's valuable stuff. All right, no flash flood warnings for us. Clearly we're in flood in a lot of places. There are still flash flood watches back here in Louisiana and parts of Texas until 5 in the morning. Look at this tornado warning back out here in Mississippi. The storm in Alexandria basically right now, but strong enough to really affect the weather all throughout much of the southeast. Alabama so far has had down around Mobile 8 inches of rain from this. And this is from the National Weather Service. The same place that issued that flash flood warning is saying that in East Texas, this is not just Louisiana, this is in East Texas, 12 to 50 inches of rain has fallen from Harvey, and 1 to 4 inches more will fall tonight. So that's some tough stuff as they continue with this. We'll get back to Harvey in a minute. I do want to mention the river levels, and they're looking, I guess, better in some regard. Like Columbus is crested going down and crested at Wharton and going down. San Felipe is now at a moderate stage going down. The Brazos at San Felipe, the Brazos at St. Bernard, East Bernard, excuse me, still major but going down. Now, clearly they're going down because the water is heading toward Bowling and Richmond, and that's going up. And Rocheron so far is steady, not going up, not going down, but we'd expect it to go up a little bit. Everything should start falling this weekend. West Columbus going up right now in a minor stage, Bay City and Matagorda minor stages, and even just at an action stage, not even really minor yet, but it's going to go up as this water continues to come down. Conroe now is a moderate, to San Jacinto at Conroe and coming down, at Porter coming down. Kingwood's still a mess, a lot of flooding in Kingwood. Humble and Major coming down, though Sheldon coming down, the San Jacinto there. Trinity at Goodrich coming down, but major. Romeyer's major, Liberty's major, holding steady. Moss Bluff now major. It was moderate earlier, now it's major, and it is starting to go up. So that's a look at the river report. All right, back to Harvey. Because this is interesting. When I've talked about this before, whenever these systems tangle with fronts, that can be trouble. As I mentioned, they've already had a whopping amount of rain so far. So this system is moving off to the northeast, and 1 to 4 inches expected, as I mentioned tonight. Good 3 to 6 on what we call the dirtier side of this, and then 4 to 8 up here in Tennessee. And the reason for that is, watch this RPM futurecast here. As the system continues to move through Mississippi and Tennessee, there's a front that's up around Chicago right now that's going to be dropping in. And that gives us that much more lift, that warm tropical air, not just raining itself out, but also getting lift into the cooler part of the atmosphere, which gives it even that much more rain coming down out of it. So they could, I've even seen some forecasts for 10 inches of rain over parts of Tennessee and Kentucky. So that's not out of the question. All right, to the tropics we go. I do have some good news, by the way. Tropical storm Irma, 60-mile-an-hour winds, moving west at 15, forecast to continue moving west. And I will have the 10 o'clock update coming up, but right now this is from 7. But expected to be a 105-mile-an-hour Category 2 hurricane. Now, keep that in mind. I'll back this up, and the question marks are over in the Bay of Campeche. 20% chance of this system, or whatever it becomes, this little bit of a swirl here with these clouds. Perhaps, the Hurricane Center says, not the next 48 hours, but in the next 5 days, 20% chance in the next 5 days of perhaps becoming a tropical system. I will say that the latest model run that I just got from the GFS, which has been really pretty good with a lot of these systems this summer, as well as Harvey, really does nothing with it. So let's hope that trend of doing nothing with it continues, because even if it's just a low out here in the Gulf, it's going to pull moisture in, and we don't need any. So let's just hope for that. But I want to mention, because it is on the National Hurricane Center's radar. Now, here's how this plays out. Harvey continues to move off to the north between these two high pressure systems. And as that happens Friday and then Saturday and Sunday, we get some nice quiet days. Now, another front, not the one that's going to tangle with Harvey that I just showed you, but another one coming down is going to be a Monday up around the Great Lakes. And as it continues to push through, if this becomes something, a low, a tropical depression, maybe a tropical storm, it should be picked up by this front and move away from us. The same front is going to take Irma and keep it off of the eastern United States. So that's the way we're hoping all this plays out. If, in fact, as I mentioned, this may not even exist to worry about. But just want to say that even if it does, we may just be worried, more about the rain regardless, as opposed to something actually moving on shore. So then Irma stays away. So that's what we're watching as we move into next week. As I mentioned, we don't need anything. Cedar Bayou at FM 1492, 51.88 inches of rain. From the National Weather Service today, rainfall totals came out from Friday through 11:59 p.m. Monday, with 43 inches in South Houston was the top number from them. 40, 42, 37, Houston Hobby 33, Alief 32.72, Pearland 31, Meyerland 30, Barker Reservoir 30. As I mentioned earlier, when your low end of a rain event is 14 to 19 inches, that's the low end. Man, tough stuff. We've talked about these 9 trillion gallons of rain. What could you do with that? You could fill the Great Salt Lake twice. And I had a science teacher in Cold Springs. I mentioned this will be a good time next week when kids get back in school to do a little math on their own. And so she did the math for Lake Livingston, and she came up with this would be 13.9 Lake Livingstons. So basically, if you took 14 Lake Livingstons and put them over southeast Texas, that's how much rain and water we had. It would equal 9 days of Mississippi River flow. It would cover the lower 48 states with a bit of water. The entire country would have a bit of water out of this. All right, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday all look pretty good. 90, 92, 72, 74. If something develops in the Bay of Campeche, that's where we're going to get the 20 and the 40% chance of rain and the 50% on Tuesday and Wednesday. If nothing develops, then that will be great. And we'll just worry about this front coming through with a little rain. Then the front materializes into 78 for Thursday, Friday, 58, 62, 58 for lows. So some really nice temperatures if all of this works out the way the models are currently forecasting them to. But the Jose thing is a real if right now. As I said, 20% chance of some development over the next 5 days, but the next 2 is a 0% chance. So we have some time to watch it. But that's what we got to do, is watch it. We certainly don't need any rain, but the National Weather Service mentioned it in their discussion today. National Hurricane Center has it on the boards, and so we have, and the models are picking up on it, so we have to talk about it.
Well, at least we will appreciate our couple of dry days ahead and take advantage of those too.
Absolutely. Good time to get cleaning up if you can. And we've seen some people already. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you, Frank. I don't know whether we've heard about the woman who still had not been found at the Omni Hotel.
So many questions about her. I'm inundated. I wish we had an answer. So far, we don't. Anusha Rasta is at the Omni. That's right there at Woodway in 610. It's another place that's been devastated by the floodwaters. Anusha?
Yeah, Bill and Dominique, unfortunately, we do not have an answer for you about that status of that missing Omni Hotel employee. What I can tell you is this is a back entrance to the Omni Hotel. We're standing along South Post Oak, which about 20 minutes ago was filled with fire trucks and police officers and hazmat crews. A fire captain on scene here told me that HFD and HPD dive teams were on scene at the Omni Hotel searching that property. We actually have some aerial video for you to show you what looks like emergency responders in uniforms with flashlights searching that property. Now, this is 2 days after we first reported that an employee at the Omni Hotel had gone missing on Sunday. The hotel told us that she was helping guests and other employees evacuate the building because water was rushing into the hotel very quickly, and they say that's when she went missing. Well, at this point, she is still being reported as missing. The dive teams, both with the police department and the fire department, did not find anything at the Omni Hotel during their search. They did clear out. They've left the hotel here. They've left the scene. And at this point, we don't know when they will return. But at this point, still a lot of questions surrounding this woman, where she could be. Again, she is missing, and the dive teams are still pursuing the search. We're just not sure when they'll be back here exactly, but they were here for several hours with hazmat and the fire department. So we're going to stay on top of this for you. We're going to continue this story closely because there is a woman out there who is missing, an employee at the Omni Hotel. We're hoping that she will be found soon. For now, we're going to send it back to you guys, and I will update my Facebook and Twitter pages as soon as we get any kind of update on this woman. I know a lot of viewers had been contacting me, emailing and sending messages through social media asking about her. They've been very worried, as we've been as well, and at this point I can tell you there is no update. She is still being reported missing.
So as far as you know, Anusha, the search for her with the dive teams and rescue people, as far as we know, nothing was found, right?
No.
All right.
Nothing was found. Nothing was found. There were a few theories about where she may be or where she may not be, and the dive teams told us that they did search particular areas that they were told they may perhaps find something, but they did not find anything. And the search is ongoing. It's just been suspended for tonight. So they will probably pick that back up. We don't have an exact time, though, on that search.
Thank you, Anusha. We will still hold out hope until we know for sure.
We will indeed.
Hold out and offer prayers for her family, who just must be so anxious at this moment.
There are shelters for survivors of this storm all over the Houston area. I mean, we've got the GRB downtown, we've got the spillover at Toyota, we've got NRG Center, churches, schools.
And that's just in the heart of Houston.
Civil Center. Yeah.
That's right. And then there are all the communities that surround that are in the exact same situation. That includes Katie, our neighbors there, and that's where we find Sophia Beausoleil tonight. Sophia?
Hi, Dominique and Bill. Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, we've been talking a lot about the GRB and over there, but there's shelters everywhere. There's volunteers everywhere, including right here in Katy, the Cinco Ranch area. And tonight I have the pastor, Jerry Edmondson. He is with the fellowship. So talk about what exactly you all are doing here.
So yesterday, about 10 o'clock, our church got together and we said, so what is the greatest need that we're hearing about? And it was, we need shelter. And we thought, well, we don't really have the capacity to house people overnight, but what if we could ask people to open their homes? And so we decided that we would be the center for just sending an invitation out to the community and saying, if you can host a family, would you simply go to the website and sign up? And we've had over 320 homes that said, hey, we want to open our home to those that have been affected. Today, it's really interesting because I sent an email to some people. I talked about evacuees, and someone reminded me that they weren't evacuees. They're our friends and our neighbors. And that was just so powerful. And I was reminded of that every single family that's come here since noon yesterday when we opened has been our family and our friends from all over the city. And so we've had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 100 families that have come through here, and we've been able to put about 70 in homes. And so we've had a lot more homes than we've had our neighbors and friends show up, but we've been able to give them food, and we've been able to give them all kinds of supplies and be able to help them in a place to hang out. And I think one of the biggest miracles is we've had over 500 volunteers from all over the community. Yeah, from all over the community, from every church, from non-churches, I mean, it's just been a community. We've seen the heart of our community to be here, and it's been an amazing thing to see all those homes open up, all the volunteers, all the generosity. Food just keeps coming in. I think I'm going to gain like 5 pounds here. So it's been an amazing thing, and so we've celebrated that. We've had great volunteers and great people, so it's been a wonderful thing. Right now, what we're recognizing is we don't have as many. It's a good thing. We don't have as many of our friends and neighbors who have been displaced. They're not coming for help. So now what we're doing is we're taking, as you can see behind me, let's take a look. So all of this is stuff that's been donated. We've had some incredible volunteers that have gone through and sorted all of these donations by size and everything. And we have clothes, we have diapers, we have pillows and blankets, we have laundry detergent, we have toilet paper, all kinds of stuff. And what we're saying is to all these families, we want you to come and shop here. come and get what you need. Because there are many families that haven't come here, and the reality is that they left with nothing. And they're in some friend's home or they're someplace, and we're saying, you still need a baby pen, a little, pen for your kids, whatever. And you need some other things. Man, come here and get those things. These are donations from our families here. So we're just saying that's what we're focusing on, getting people here who have been displaced, who are staying with friends, but who still need stuff. Right. And they got a Come help us.
And you've been here for many years. I remember when this church was being built when I was a kid, actually. Yeah. And just this whole area has been devastated. Yeah. My mom doesn't live too far from here, and we've never seen this type of flooding. And you're absolutely right. The things that people had when they got out was basically the clothes on their back. So this is very helpful. But again, I want you to talk about those 300 homes that people have offered up to those who have lost their own homes. How do people go about signing up for that?
Yes, and so we're having all of the shelters refer people here. We've talked to the police and the fire department. Everybody knows that we're trying to get people into homes, and so they're bringing them here. And
so they need to come here? Do they need to go to a website or anything?
No, we're saying just come here. All the host homes go to a website and fill it out, and they say, hey, I can take somebody for 2 days, 2 weeks. I can take someone with pets. I can take up to 5 people or 10 people. Last night, our last family here that we placed had 5 kids and 4 dogs.
Oh man!
And we had a couple that said we can take them. They brought both their cars, loaded them up, and we were so blessed. And so last night we were able to get all of our families in homes, and today all the families that have come here that needed a home, that didn't have friends or somebody to go with, we were able to get in homes.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Pastor. And again, I know you said you're pretty good on when it comes to clothing and everything, correct?
Always use more volunteers.
Okay.
Yeah, always volunteers to come and help. And can I just say this? There have been in our community so many churches that we partnered with us. We have had an amazing outpouring. I want to celebrate our community and the spirit of our community and what they've done. They have just been amazing, and we're blessed. I love this city, and it brings me to tears to think about how our people are suffering, but yet to see the community come out like this. I tell you, I told somebody I don't even know what I'm going to preach on Sunday. I'm probably just going to get up and talk about what God has done and weep. I think that's probably what I'm going to do.
I totally agree with you. It's very inspiring. Well, thank you so much, Pastor. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And Dominique and Bill, the kids have been out of school. These kids, all the kids left, but they've been working very hard, sorting all the clothes and everything. So I know, Pastor, you're very proud of all these kids from around the community who have been helping out.
And they've been back there dying to get on camera, so good job.
You're very welcome. Reporting live from Katy, Sophia Bosley, KPRC, Channel 2
You
News.
just scored some major points there, Sophia.
Thanks, Sophia. And hopefully, folks who are listening who are now in other places and still need all those supplies, they'll go back to the GRB and pick it up. Sorry, not GRB, where you are there in Katy.
The fellowship, right, which is at the corner of Peak and Westheimer Parkway. Perfect. And they can come here and pick up clothes. And what time does that start?
We'll be here at 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay. And I can tell you, one thing I want to say too, we have had first responders. We had 90, firemen from Phoenix that stayed in the Y next door. The YMCA has been a great partner, Monty Ballard YMCA. Tonight we have 30 of our guardsmen here. Yeah, and we've got all kinds of boats, guys that brought boats. They're staying here at the church. So we've been putting people up and feeding them as well. So we're just loving on these guys, and they're incredible. They're heroes.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Many heroes out there. Back to you guys in the studio.
Wow. What a great congregation. Thank you so much, Sophia.
And a lot of happy kids, so they're taking care of the folks there right, that's for sure. Sadly, not always the right thing happens. Disasters like this can oftentimes bring out scam artists. They come out of the woodwork and they pretty much prey on people who are already frazzled and in desperate need of help.
You have to make sure that you hire the right person to repair your home, too, when the time comes. Our consumer expert, Amy Davis, is going to show us tricks that shady contractors will use and how not to fall for them.
We've already started hearing reports of contractors and cleanup crews going door to door in neighborhoods that were flooded.
And you could see the whirling and all. and he grabbed the doors because it was trying to suck the doors out.
Workers at Kitchell Electric Supply say they know it was a tornado that rolled through downtown Petal just after lunchtime.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, the wind just started whipping up, and I come from the back of the store, and the rain was blowing sideways, and I looked up, and the clouds were blowing this way, and the rain was blowing sideways like this, and then it started just whipping around.
Chris Nobles caught a photo of the funnel cloud as it moved through town. Davis Glass lost some of his glass windows and a bit of its nerve when the wind started churning.
It was a door out back, and it broke loose, and I sat there and watched the bay doors get pushed in.
Petal has been hit by tornadoes before. The mayor says too often as of late.
We had one on January 21st this year. We had one 4 years ago in February. Both of those were pretty bad. So when I first heard of this, I imagined that.
Several businesses have roof damage, power lines pulled from the poles. This house on McKenna Street even caught a small break when a massive oak tree passed just past the side of the house that the Habitat of Humanity renovated a year and a half ago. On site here tomorrow doing a survey of where this tornado touched down.
The donations for 4 days. The need is there.
We can imagine. Okay, so people need to go to giveblood.org and they can find out your 11 locations, plus you said mobile locations as well, and everything will be listed there?
Yes, that's correct, and we are updating it every day, and so if you can't make it out tomorrow, check on there. You can see Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all throughout where you can go to donate blood.
All right,
Wonderful.
And not too far along, we'll be having our own blood drive here at KPRC, which we do in conjunction with the Gulf Coast Regional Blood Bank. Joshua Buckley, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you, Joshua, for letting us know. We appreciate it.
All right. We'll be right back with more for you.
Stay with us.